Hello everyone, Burb here. Satono Diamond is being released tomorrow, so Kidison Black doesn't really have to wait very long to have her friend and roommate join her in the game. This is a series where I like to compile everything that I have found out about each of the characters entering the game. Probably too much than necessary, but that's why I call it a way too in-depth guide. So, today, let's talk about Satono Diamond. If she is your Oshi pick and you need a little bit more validation as for the banner section, um, she's actually a late surger that's very, very easy to run. And as a winning ticket player myself, I love ease of use because you enjoy running the actual character itself, and that causes you to be able to high roll them without very much frustration. So, um, very easy horse to run because of the innate gold recovery. Doesn't give anything special, but also her inherited ultimate plus her affinities are both very good as well. So the parents that you are going to get from running these runs with Satono Diamond are going to be useful in your other horses as well. So those two things, if you have the 30,000 carats to guarantee this banner and she is your Oshi pick, this is certainly a perfectly fine banner to pull on it. This horse is actually quite useful. So let's talk about Satono Diamond. Her aptitudes, she's built as a medium and long track horse, specifically in the late surger position, although there, besides the gold recovery, there is not really much keeping her in the late surger position, and there's some good merits into running her in the pace chaser position and possibly even the end closer position. You do have to stretch a bit for the end closer position. Mile C means that she's good in Make a New Track Blazer, but also you can run her in Mile, although she does have a little bit of difficulty with her ultimate. But Side Games intended her to be a turf track, medium, and long late surger. Okay? Her stat bonuses are 15% stamina, 15% wit. While this is more useful towards the medium and long races, you can run it in Mile, like I said, and I would suggest a speed, power, wit build in Track Blazer. As the meta evolves, you will generally be wanting to press the stamina and power button as well as the wit button because those give you your bonuses. But for now, I think a 2 speed, 2 power, 2 wit deck is pretty standard on Miles, and I think you can stretch it into mediums because of the 15% stamina bonus. That is her stat bonus advantage. If you are having trouble or you just don't have that good of speed cards in Track Blazer, as we're finding, you can go to 3 speed. It is perfectly fine. You would most likely sack either a power or a wit card and just try to get your race bonus up for Track Blazer. But she works very well because I do this with Winning Ticket a lot too, where you just go 3 speed and you just pump your speed as much as possible. Okay. For long tracks, if you're trying to do it for the newest CM as well, I suggest a 3 speed build with the Stamina Super Creek Borrow, and then you can just fill in the race bonus cards as you can. You kind of want to get on your left, so Nice Nature Wit, if you're able to borrow her, that's pretty good as well. You could run a 2 speed, 2 stamina with like Man Cafe and like something else on a free to play build, and that would allow you to get Nice Nature Wit to fill out both your race bonus requirements as well as give you on your left, because this character does not have any form of Slick Surge. But the comfy build would just be to borrow Super Creek and just hit your stats with a Measure of Dober to get your Slick Surge as well. So, or just grab it from parents, of course. But those are my suggestions for builds. Like I said, Track Blazer has sort of messed up a lot of the builds of a lot of people because we're still trying to figure things out. But I think it's pretty standard. You can Guts Max this character. However, if you notice, she has no speed, power, or Guts bonus, which means that pressing the Guts button, although the Guts build is very good, she doesn't really help you with the Guts build too much, in my opinion. The only thing she really helps you with it is that 15% wit bonus is going to help you because the Guts bonus usually sacrifices a little bit of wit to do so. Okay, so those are her stat bonus. Let's talk about her ultimate. Internal Encompassing Shine. If well positioned at the start of the final straight, her strong willpower to win increases velocity. If positioned near the front, greatly increase velocity instead. This is a pretty straightforward ultimate. It breaks down into the conditions: is last straight one time, between second and fifth, with the distance diff top check. I'll go over each of these conditions, but if you successfully do it, you get a speed. This is a speed ultimate, okay? A target speed ultimate. Is last straight one time just means you have entered the final straight. This is what I like to call a snapshot. So at the final straight, wherever that may be, it will go and check all of the other conditions. If you pass all the other conditions, it will proc the ultimate. If it fails any of the conditions, it will just not proc that race. It's kind of the same thing like Triumphant Pulse. If you're not between second and fifth in Triumphant Pulse simply will not proc. So there is no leeway with this ultimate. However, her conditions are quite easy to satisfy, to be perfectly blunt. Notably, the final straight on certain mile tracks, most mile tracks, if not all, all mile tracks will clip it. Certain mile tracks will completely eat the ultimate in the acceleration zone. This is because this is a target speed ultimate. If the acceleration zone is very close to the final straight, her ultimate will proc exactly when you enter the final straight, and by the time you have hit max speed, you would most likely have this ability duration is completed by that point. So it is eaten up at least partially on the mile tracks, but the medium and long tracks, the final straight is far enough away from the spurt itself that you will not have a problem with it. The other condition that you need to satisfy is go between second and fifth. This is a pretty common condition. It's also a pretty easy condition. So second to fifth, you can be anywhere in between these positions, okay? The final thing to look is that it checks whether or not you are within 2 horse lengths or 5 meters of the leading horse, or if you're farther away. If you're farther away, it procs one version, which is the weaker version of this ultimate. If you are close enough and you're within spitting distance of the lead horse, well, you get a stronger version of this ultimate. And that is truly the strength of her ultimate, is that in the positions where you're going to win, where you're close to the leader, you will have a stronger ultimate that will help you close the gap and finish the race very strong, okay? So if you proc the closer than 2 horse lengths version, you do have a 0.45 target speed 5-second ultimate. If you don't, it is a standard 0.35 5-second ultimate, 1.75 distance units, 2.25 distance units. The easiest way to compare this is with TM Opera O's ultimate, which happens at 400 meters, which is pretty close, but not exactly to the final straight on a lot of maps. But TM Opera O's ultimate is only 4 seconds, not 5 seconds, so this is actually 20% better than TM Opera O's ultimate if you're able to pass. The reason why that is because this is a second through fifth ultimate instead of a first through fourth ultimate. Because of this, front runners generally will not want to pick this up, but pace chasers, late surgers, and even end closers can pick this ultimate up and have basically a ultimate that has upside more than the standard base race. On the inherit, this is the part that I think is probably the best part of the character, is it's essentially a white skill plus upside, which is quite rare. Even TM Opera O ultimate, which is considered a very good inherit, is a 2.4 second, 0.15 and 0.25 ultimate. Now granted, the 0.25 gets better over time because it's quite easy to proc. This one is technically second through fifth, so it does not work in the first position. However, if you do proc it, you get a 3-second 0.15 and 0.25 ultimate respectively. And in the situations where you're going to win, you will generally be at least close to the leader. You may not be within the 2 horse lengths, but at the very least, this will help you close the gap. So it's a very good ultimate. It's quite a good inherit. And what I was mentioning with pace chasing is that there's some merits in pushing her into the pace chaser position because it is a lot easier to satisfy this distance diff top greater than 5. And if you pass the front runners, sure, it doesn't proc, but you're sort of suffering from success in that situation. So second through fifth, this is going to help you get those positions where you're having trouble closing the gap at the last moment. On the long tracks, generally they are end closer focused, and that means that even in the late surger and end closer position, you can still be within second through fifth, and it's quite common because you have time for your acceleration skill to cook, and by the time you hit the final straight, hopefully, in the situations where you're going to win, you should be in at least the front half of the pack, okay? Her career, pretty standard long horse career, a la Kidison Black, standard long horse, third at the Tenno show, third at the Kakuga show. Nothing much to write home about. And also because if you're running her late surger, she has the innate gold recovery. You shouldn't have any problem doing this career. Okay, if you do add the Japan Cup, because she does need first in the Tenno show autumn and the Arima Keenan, when you are not in Track Blazer, you will get her secret event, which gives you some speed, stamina, guts, fall runner as well. even if it's not fall, I think this is quite a good secret event to do just because it's very low investment and just gives you 30 free stats. So she needs to get first in the Tono Show and the Arima Keenan anyways. You might as well try to win the Japan Cup as well, okay? Her costume event, she is a Hot Topic character, which unfortunately is the worst out of the three. But she does come with the character event that gives you straightaway Adept on the bottom option, as well as a very interesting character event, Follow Through those who you admire. If you have watched the Practice Perfect video, you will know that this is actually quite an interesting choice, but you could hypothetically get Practice Perfect, or you could get Deep Breaths as well from this character event. So it's kind of like a double whammy where she has Practice Perfect option and she gets Hot Topic as her random as well. But of course, it's not as good as the Fast Learner characters, but it's still okay, right? Her skills. We talked about her event skills, Straightaway Adept, Deep Breaths, Fall Runner. They're good in their own particular track. Straightaway Adept is a pretty standard good final or like random straight skill. She also comes with mid straightaways for medium tracks. Feature Act is a surprisingly good skill. Another thing pushing her more towards the pace user position because it kind of guarantees Feature Act, but even the late surgers do sometimes get Feature Act and end closer heavy lobbies on longs, which is normal at the moment. So basically this has a high chance of speed carryover. Approaching late race, yep. High chance of speed carryover if you are in the front half of the pack, and you should be in the late surgers if you get like a good Uma stand proc anyways on longs. So that's pretty good for the Pisces Cup as well. Firm conditions is obviously good on, firm conditions. Her golds, she doesn't come with anything too special, but they're just sort of nice. So Lion Weight is the reliable late surger recovery. It has phase later half random of 0, which means it's the second half of early race, not mid race, which means that this should proc. And barring an absolutely generational Uma stand proc that puts you in like second place, it should proc even if they're worst because they're supposed to be mostly end closer lobbies. You do have a little bit of trouble with like 6 end closer lobbies, but we're finding with Kiddos in Black it's not really a problem. There's plenty of front runners, etc. And also, Right-Handed Demon is the upgraded version of Right-Handed that also gives you power. It's just that 130 base cost when you're already spending 90 and 110 on Right-Handed is kind of not the best rate for 60 bonus power, but it's there, and it'll get better as we get more and more skill points, and we're just trying to find things to spend our skill points on. So nothing too special. Mostly you'll probably be just getting this for the white version of Right-Handed, and Lion Weight will be good if you're playing her late surger on longs and possibly mediums as well. For her CM viability, her ultimate works on pretty much every CM that is medium or long, and it's decent on some mile tracks depending on how far away the final straight is. This is obviously, Pisces Cup is a right-handed track, so you do get a free green, and her ultimate will proc on the final straight, which is far enough away from the spurt. The same thing happens in Aries Cup, although it is left-handed. The same thing happens in Taurus Cup, and this one is right-handed. Now this is the one where we will start having problems with Christmas Auguri, but her ultimate, if you are able to at least stay close to the Christmas Auguri surging forward, you should be just fine, and you may have enough late race speed to counter that, okay? Gemini Cup is where you start having problems. This is a mile CM. In the mile CMs, this ultimate gets clipped because it is getting eaten by the acceleration zone. Eating means that the target speed will increase, but because you are accelerating, you can only accelerate it at the rate of your acceleration. Okay, her affinities. Let's all play a little trivia game. Who do we think Satono Diamond has the best affinity with? I think we all know it's going to be, of course, the star of Uma Musume Season 3. Some would say the Jonathan Uma Musume of Uma Musume Pretty Urban Season 3, Shovel Grand. No. Surprisingly enough, this is actually true. It's tied, but yeah, Kiddos in Black. She has very good affinity with Kiddos in Black, and then it kind of drops off from there, to be honest. But besides that, you do have quite good affinity with Narita Bryan, Nice Nature, Special Week, Manhattan Cafe, Machikani Tannhäuser, and the new Measure of Bright. She's okay affinity with these characters. It's in the mid to high 20s, but Kiddos in Black, she has ridiculous, like 34, I believe, in Japan at the moment. so it should be in the mid-30s. So she is a decent parent. Of course, she's a medium long horse, which means her aptitudes are spread a little bit apart, but it's not too bad. So in conclusion, she's a pretty solid horse. She is a good parent. She is a perfectly viable horse to run, quite comfy to build in specifically the late surger position, can be stretched into pace, can be stretched into end closer, whatever you need, medium, long, miles, a little bit sus. Nothing to absolutely write home about in terms of advantages over other horse. She doesn't have a no stopping me, she doesn't have an on your left, something to make your acceleration life easier. But she has a very good ultimate that is very inheritable. And I don't think people are talking about this horse too much because it's sort of at a weird time where we basically unloaded all of our carrots on the combination of the Fine Motion banner, the Narita Top Road banner, the start of Make a New Track, as well as the Kiddison Black banner. I think because Kiddison Black was such a meta character, this character has sort of just become a hidden gem. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Burb out.